Good evening. My name is Zarina Mustafa, and I serve as the president of the Spelman Student Government Association. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to the Atlanta University Center campus, a campus where we pride ourselves on critical analysis in the name of progress for our community. Though my presence does not serve as an endorsement on behalf of Spelman College or myself, as young intellectuals and scholar activists who inhabit the halls of the Atlanta University Center Consortium, it is both our calling and responsibility to participate in the political process as informed agents of change. So listen closely, sisters and brothers, as this is an important moment in the present and in history. With that, I am excited to be here, and I hope that you all are too. Welcome.
Good evening. Present at the world-renowned Clark Atlanta University. A global forum for ideas that matter. On behalf of Clark
Atlanta University Center, the world's largest consortium of African American scholarship. Our distinction emanates not from the color of our skin, but rather by the collective capacity to consider, cogitate, and effectively execute ideas that matter. Senator Sanders, if you are serious about driving America's future, you have to come to the place where today we are shaping tomorrow. We welcome your ideas and opinions towards this common goal. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here today. My name is Will Chandler, and I serve as the Student Government Association President here at Morehouse College. I am here today alongside Gerald and Zarina to welcome all of you, our visitors, students, neighbors, and friends to the Atlanta University Center. For more than 149 years, the Morehouse tradition has continued to produce strong community and academic leaders with an emphasis on moral consciousness. Today, we are continuing that tradition by showing our commitment to one of the most important social movements of our time, student activism. It is up to us as students in this community to create an environment where students can feel comfortable to exchange thoughtful dialogues on issues impacting our communities. And in order to be the critical players in the healing of the world, it is imperative that we first begin with our very own community by addressing issues such as college affordability, income inequality, and criminal justice reform. I am pleased to be here to hear from a man who has dedicated his career to improving the lives of those in his community. So again, I welcome all of you to Morehouse College and to the Atlanta University Center. Thank you.
Atlanta, Georgia, what's going on? Make some noise, man. Make some noise in this place. Are y'all feeling the burn tonight? Are y'all feeling the burn tonight? Well, good evening. My name is Danny Glover. I serve as the National HBCU Outreach Director for the Bernie Sanders campaign. And it is a pleasure to be with you tonight in Atlanta, Georgia at Morehouse College. However, before I begin, of course, I have to send my sincere thanks to the 11th president of Morehouse, Dr. John Wilson, and Student Government Association President, Mr. Will Chandler, and the entire Morehouse College community for hosting us today and serving as the perfect campus to take our 2016 Feel the Burn HBCU tour to the next level. Now. I'll be extremely remiss if I did not thank the most important people here, the people who waited for 1 hour. If you waited for 1 hour, make some noise. If you waited for 2 hours, make some noise. If you waited for 3 hours, make some noise. If you waited for 4 hours, make some noise. So thank you. Thank you. You all are the real MVPs, and you don't deserve a round of applause. You deserve a thunderclap, so help me out. See, we're changing the game with this HBCU tour. All right, so let's get to the purpose of this program. Now, over the past weeks, we've made stops at HBCUs across the country to engage students on the policies and platform of Senator Bernie Sanders and why he is the best choice for President of the United States of America. Now, know this, Morehouse College. Know this, Clark Atlanta University. Know this, Spelman College. Today, you join our campaign in making history. For the first time on the presidential campaign trail, a candidate is embracing the importance of America's 105 HBCUs enough to bring his message directly to our campuses. And you know what happens? You know what happens when we get to those campuses? We have deep conversations about why income inequality is the great moral issue of our time, about why attending college should be free. Let me repeat that, about why attending college should be free for everybody. And lastly, we also have conversations about why criminal justice is the great civil rights battle of our time. Now, these are issues that I know every person, yeah, you can clap for that one. Now, these are issues that I know every person in this room, every person in this community has dealt with in some form or another. And as millennials, as students of color, as students of the AUC, as our nation's future leaders, no generation is more important to this election than you are. Your voices. Your voices. Your votes, your visions, they all matter. And because they matter, we're here. It's hard for me not to drop my head in disappointment in some of our leaders' lack of belief in our ability to accomplish big goals. Quickly, let's take a walk down memory lane. When Nat Turner, Frederick Douglass, Sojourner Truth were told, no, slavery will not end in this country, what did they do? They organized, they fought, they remained vigilant, they won. When Dr. King, Julian Barnes, Fannie Lou Hamer, and yes, Congressman John Lewis were told, no, there will be no overcoming today, what did they do? They fought. They remained vigilant. They organized. They won. And when the country, and when our ancestors said we would never have an African-American president, what did we do? We fought. We remained vigilant. We organized. We won. And I know you, just like myself, are proud to tell our ancestors, even as they watch down on us from heaven, that his name is Mr. Barack Hussein Obama. So don't let the pundits tell you, don't let the political establishment tell us Senator Sanders' plan is too radical. It's unrealistic to think that we can offer free college education. It's unrealistic to think we can reform this broken criminal justice system that disproportionately affects black boys, black girls. My friends, you tell them, we've done so much with so little. And as my grandmother always told me, anything worth having is worth working hard for. So Atlanta, Georgia, This political revolution, our political revolution, is now. So while this turn up today is very real and very authentic, let's not lose sight of the work to be done. There are plenty of opportunities to get involved today, to make your voices heard, to make this community, this state, these United States of America, feel the burn. Let me hear you. Feel the burn. Feel the burn. Feel the burn. Feel the burn. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. We're live now at Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia. Bernie Sanders should be up soon. Like that previous guy, had a lot of pep, a lot of power, a lot of passion. He kept peaking the meter on the audio board here, no matter what I did. Got the crowd all riled up. Good to have you with us tonight. Thank you, CBS 46, for carrying this feed and not shutting us down. Always appreciated. I wish I'd had it on earlier. The Morehouse College Band, as somebody put it in Twitter, is badass, and they most definitely were. Wonderful band sound coming out of that. I'm looking at your comments there. And yeah, we can't talk about Bernie's crazy schedule. He really does have a crazy schedule. And you're welcome, guys. Glad to be here. I'm glad you like my voice. I really appreciate that. Thank you. As I've told people before, I really wanted to be a 1970s yacht rock DJ. And eventually, Janine and I are going to redo music television, except we're going to do it as VJs, and bring back some of that element that's been lost from the golden era of MTV. All right, somebody was posting important information, or at least useful information about the stadium. 6,000 seats. I love the fact that I'm seeing you say I'm soothing. That's wonderful. Soon you'll be enjoying the soothing sounds of Senator Bernie Sanders as he rocks your world today with the latest in political revolution talk. Live, thank you, CBS 46, Atlanta, Georgia, with Bernie Sanders and the political revolution. All right, apparently that went well, except somebody thought it sounded creepy. I'll try to keep that out of there. thank you to everybody doing comment modding tonight. Dropping those comments in the lower third so we can all see what everybody has to say. Really appreciate that. I think we got Ryan out there, and I don't know who else. But thank you all. Really appreciate it. Sean will be dropping Twitter blasts, screenshots, as soon as Bernie comes on. More than 220 of you joining right now. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight. Bernie Sanders should be up soon. I'm seeing people in chat mention that Nina Turner might be here as well. Nice to have you here. I see a lot of questions about why does it take so long, what's going on. I know that they have such a packed schedule, traveling from one place to another, and some of the grassroots event staff that we've talked with say that a lot of times things are moving so quickly between so many different teams that gear ends up in one place, people in another. It's just crazy, and the addition of the Secret Service for Bernie, which we all appreciate, has added another layer of detail to all of these events. So, yeah. Interesting. I have no control over that screenshot, folks. Enjoy. All right. I tell you what. Give me a second. I'll set up a video. Got a nice user submitted video. I'll run that. Keep an eye on this, and if it starts, we'll cut into it. I know. It's too quiet. We all want to hear something. I'll get something going. All right. I was going to get going here, but a guy just came up and said, "Are you ready? We're going to be going in a second." So we're just going to cut back to this. No songs.
Hey! Hey, Morehouse, Spelman, Clark, AU Center! Oh, yes, you make me proud. I graduated from 2 HBCUs, Mission College and Hillman College. No, but y'all are going to the real HBCUs, and I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for showing up today. I'm proud of you for educating yourselves and being involved in the political process, using your mind, using your individuality, so you will vote, so you will know what you're voting for, so you will understand the issues at hand, okay? We need you, all right? I want to thank you all for coming, and those of you that haven't been to the Morehouse Spelman AU Center before, welcome. It's a beautiful thing. So as we start this political process and we get more involved, I want to encourage you all to think as individuals, to be careful of falling into too much negativity and backbiting, and think for yourselves. Understand the issues that affect you: college education, prison reform. What am I going to do at 50 when they fire me and I've been working for this company for 20 years and I got to find a new career? How am I going to take care of my parents when they get older and my children when they're getting ready to go to college? This is our country. There's no other country like America where we are given a voice, and we need to use our voice, okay? Don't lay down on this election, and don't lay down on the midterm elections, okay? Wow, I have never seen this many people at Morehouse. Yeah! I want you to put your hands together for an activist, a rapper, a man that speaks his truth, a man that gives a voice to the voiceless, Mr. Michael Render, Killer Mike.
Do you guys feel the burn? I know my white people in the audience, y'all here for a reason, so I know y'all feel the burn. I know my brothers and sisters, and rightfully so, they got some convincing to do. So I'm not here to pander for a politician. I'm not here to convince you the white messiah is coming out of the sky to save you. I don't even know if white Jesus is real. But before I was a freshman here in 1993, before I was a student at Frederick Douglass High School, 3 exits to the west that way, before I was a kid at Collier Heights Elementary and growing up in Collier Heights, I was destined to be a black man born in America. And that ain't always an easy job. It's not always an easy task. So forgive me if I'm not talking about everybody right now, but I want to help you understand the plight of a black man in America. This didn't happen to me yesterday. This didn't happen to me the day before. This happened to me today. I was stopped. I was accosted. Somebody threatened to arrest me because I said I didn't like the way they were talking to a black woman. And to that black Secret Service agent, I'm going to just simply say shame on you. But you didn't know no better. You didn't know that you were talking to a well-informed young man. You didn't know that you were talking to a disciple of Martin Luther King. You did not know that you were talking to a social justice warrior. And I appreciate you doing your job. Oh, I appreciate you doing your job. But then it got worse. Then I left you and I saw a white Secret Service agent. God bless him. He told me he didn't care if I was purple. I said, well, man, they don't make purple people. Then he said, well, you don't pay my salary. I said, but I'm a taxpayer. I think I do. And I didn't do it because I wanted to show anybody up. Because my father was a police officer, and I love the fact that law enforcement in Atlanta looks like me. I did it
Because I don't care what your job is. I don't care who we're here to protect. I don't care what we think we're protecting. We're here on this great campus because slaves chose to educate their children. We're here. We're here because black men and women have put it on the line for this country since the day you brought our black ass off a boat. We have been here. So I don't know what kind of disruption they were afraid was going to happen, but the disruptor is here. And I'm here to tell black people, if you give your vote, God damn it, demand something. So I don't care if you decided to go another way because you got a little uncomfortable. I don't care if you're secretly here with another agenda. I want to simply say, unlike a lot of people that are going to talk to you, I have been personally mentored, and you can Google these names, by Reverend James Orange, the Reverend Joseph Lowry, Andrew Young, Alice Johnson, and even the good Representative John Lewis. So you can't tell me nothing about what I know, and this is what I know. If you line up Martin Luther King Jr. social policy for the poor, for the downtrodden, for the weak, for the woman, for the gay, for the people of color, for the people in abject poverty throughout this country, if you take that and you put it on a board, and then you line up all your candidates from all the parties, and you say, well, what's your policy? There's only one candidate whose policy lines up. There's only one candidate. Now, 2 weeks before, when he didn't have no Secret Service, he wasn't that popular. They weren't worried about nothing happening to him. But today we got so much Secret Service, and we're thankful that they're here. We know that our job is being done. We know that we have recognized someone with the proper social justice policy for this country. When people tell us, hold on, wait a while, and that's what the other Democrat is telling you. Hold on, Black Lives Matter. Just wait a while. Hold on, young people in this country. Just wait a while. And then she get good. She have your own mama come to you. Your mama sit down and say, well, you're a woman. But I talked to Jane Elliott a few weeks ago, and Jane said, Michael, a uterus doesn't qualify you to be president of the United States. You have to have policy that's reflective of social justice. Paying women a fair wage is social justice. Making sure that minorities have jobs is social justice. Ending a bullshit drug war is social justice. Making sure our children can go to college is social justice. When I sat with Senator Sanders at a restaurant not far from here, a bunch of people went online and, he took them to a soul food restaurant. You're damn right. Because I wanted him to know that I'm not taking you here for the chicken. I didn't bring you for the collards. I wanted you to sit where Martin, Andy, Ralph, John, Hosea, I want you to sit where they sat. So before I endorse you, you understand what I expect of you. I expect for you to look out for the African American community. And I hear them tell our white brothers and sisters all the time, it's not your fight to fight. It's going to be okay later. And I look at people try to contrive ways of getting black and white people together. But in Atlanta, Georgia, if you look around, this ain't Georgia Tech. White people are here. This is Morehouse. If you look at Atlanta, Georgia, the Teamsters that are here, that are white, that work with James Orange, these out on the other side of town. This community is showing the rest of the nation how blacks and whites and Latins and gays and women and men can work together for the betterment of us all. And I say all that to say, once you have a policy that fits like all the fantasy they've always told you of liberation, of all of us overcoming. Once you have a policy, it's time to look at everyone else and say, I like your dress and I like your hair, Donald Trump, but enough is enough for me. Enough of the political games for me. Enough of the bullshit. We deserve better. We have Bernie Sanders as our next United States president. Thank you, Morehouse. Michael Render, class of 1997.
Well, Morehouse, I'm going to go ahead and tell y'all I'm not as crunk as Killer Mike is. Now, for those of you who may not know, my name is Justin Bamberg. I'm a state representative from South Carolina. And I'm also one of the lawyers that represented the family of Walter Scott. And I stand before you today a diehard Bernie Sanders supporter. But the fact of the matter is I wasn't always that way. You see, at the end of last year, I came out and I endorsed publicly Miss Clinton. Now, before y'all start throwing stuff, hear me out, because there's a point behind this. You see, in the very beginning, I never really gave Bernie Sanders the time of day. I looked at it like, I was a young guy from South Carolina. I never met anybody from Vermont. But then people started telling me, hey, Rep. You see, where I'm from, they call me the people's rep. They said, hey, Rep, take a look at Bernie Sanders. So what I started to do is I started to open my eyes and I started to open my ears. And I started to listen to the things that Bernie Sanders was talking about. Racial justice. Social justice. And economic justice. And one of the things that I noticed about Bernie Sanders that I really loved is that I noticed that he wasn't just saying these things as a candidate running for president. These are things that he had been saying for years and years and years and years and years. So I say that to say this, is that there are non-believers out there. It was once said that if you control a man's thoughts, you need not concern yourself with his actions. And there are non-believers who want to control your actions and control your thoughts and control the way that you vote. But I'm standing here today as living testament that you can make up your own mind. And I charge each of you to make the decision to support Senator Sanders, because he is a leader that can lead us today, tomorrow, and well into the future. Feel the burn.
ATL, how you doing? I'm Senator Nina Turner from the great state of Ohio, but glad to be in the ATL tonight. I want to thank my colleague, Representative Bamberg. I want to thank Killer Mike for laying it down, because when he said the struggle is real, I faced the same struggle walking into this place tonight. But what we do know is this, that Senator Bernie Sanders is a public servant for our time.
that he is a drum major for justice. And that our mission is so high, we can't get over it. And our mission is so low, we can't get under it. And our mission is so wide, we can't get around it. So when Senator Sanders talks about working for universal health care in this country, we say amen. When Senator Sanders talks about universal college in this country, we say amen. When Senator Sanders talks about a racial justice platform that deals with the 5 violences against black and brown folks in this country, physical, political, economic, environmental, and legal, we say amen. And when Senator Sanders says, say her name, Sandra Bland, we say amen. And when Senator Sanders stands up for the poor black and white folks in Flint, Michigan, we say amen. So family, I'm going to just say this to you. Just for 1 minute. Just for one little minute. My support of Senator Sanders is personal. I am the oldest of 7 children. And my mother died at the young age of 42 years old with her dreams deferred. And she never lived to see her eldest daughter walk across anybody's stage and earn degrees and sworn into offices. Not only did she die at the age of 42 years old, she died on the system of welfare, no life insurance policy, and no money in the bank. So family, when I juxtaposition my life against what Senator Bernie Sanders is standing for, there was no doubt in my mind who I had to ultimately support. When he says enough is enough is enough. That's what this is about. This is about lifting poor people and the downtrodden people in this country. You know, earlier today I asked Senator Sanders, because another candidate is calling him a one-issue candidate. And I said, Killer Mike, what do you think about him being called a one-issue candidate? Killer Mike said, oh, he is a one-issue candidate, and you are the issue, the people of the United States of America. And we ain't going to keep taking this. But can I ask for everybody in this room for just one moment, because I know it's Black History Month, and it's popular for folks to go into the black community talking about what they're going to do for black folks when they had the opportunity to do something, they didn't do a damn thing. But lock us up. But everybody in this room tonight, you are African American. Just for 1 minute, I want you to follow me on this. And I want you to know this, black folks, that you are nobody's firewall. That we built this country. The sweat and the tears of black folks built this country, and we ain't nobody's firewall. That you gotta earn our vote. You don't own our vote. You gotta earn our vote. You don't own our vote. You gotta earn our vote. You don't own our vote. We ain't nobody's firewall. That in this country, seasoned and young, black, white, Asian, Native American, gay, straight, Latino, the mosaic of humanity, we are better together. And we gonna do this thing. So I want to close with my grandmother's 3 bones, because young folks, I want you to take her 3 bones. I had an opportunity to talk to some Morehouse men, and I got to give it to the Morehouse men. They are on fire for Senator Bernie Sanders. But one of your colleagues talked about being homeless as a younger man, and he has a consciousness that says that when he gets his degree, even before he gets his degree, that he's a conscious capitalist, that he understands that we rise and fall together. He understands that it takes all of us to lift in this nation. But I want to leave you with my grandmother's 3 bones, the wishbone, the jawbone, and the backbone. Grandma said the wishbone will keep you hoping and praying, because hope is the motivator, but the dream is the driver. The reason why we do what we do each and every day is because we hope and believe that tomorrow will be better than today. She said the jawbone will give you courage to speak truth to power, but the most important bone of them all, the superfragile, fragilistic, expialidocious bone, is the backbone, because the backbone will keep us standing through all of our trials and our tribulations. And in this life, we're going to go through some stuff, but you can't have a testimony without a test. And I want you to leave here today deciding in your mind that you are going to make this world a better place. Titles are good, but purpose is better. Titles are good, but purpose is better. Titles are good, but purpose is better. And Senator Sanders lives that purpose each and every day. And that is why I am sure enough feeling the burn. So now, can you do something for me, folks? When I say feel, you say burn. Feel. 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 Man, God bless you. I want to bring up one of your own, Senator Forbes, who is a progressive activist in this state of Georgia. I want you to put your hands together for Senator Forbes.
Hello, Atlanta. It's good to be with you. I'm Senator Vincent Ford. And I'm honored to be here tonight in the Atlanta University Center, where I've spent the majority of my adult life teaching young people. I'm glad to be with so many old friends and even more new ones. But let me tell you why I'm here. I'm here because we must make Bernie Sanders the next President of the United States. A few months ago, I announced that I was supporting the other Democrat in the race. And I'm not here, listen, I'm not here to criticize her. Secretary Clinton and President Clinton have been fine public servants for our nation. But this year, we have a unique and historic opportunity to truly change America. We have an opportunity to transform America, and we must seize that opportunity. As I've watched Bernie Sanders, listened to his ideas, and learned about his work in Congress as mayor of Burlington, and yes, as an activist, including his time in the civil rights movement in the 1960s. I have come to the same conclusion that all of you have. Bernie Sanders is the president America must have at this moment. Now, I have three big reasons for endorsing Senator Sanders tonight. The first is his courage to take on the Wall Street billionaires. Those billionaires who have seized control of our nation's politics. As a member, and this is personal for me, because as a member of the Georgia State Senate, I led the fight within Governor Roy Barnes, to pass the strongest law against predatory lending. That deserves some applause. But when the Republicans took over, Wall Street came to town. And one of the first things the Republicans did was repeal that law. We now know that had that law stayed in place, my brothers and sisters, and if we had such a law nationally, we could have stopped a lot of the Wall Street wrongdoing that cost so many hardworking Americans their jobs and their homes. As a presidential candidate, Bernie Sanders has turned down Wall Street's cash and taken on Wall Street billionaires. As president, we know he'll do what needs to be done. President Sanders will break up the big banks so we don't let Wall Street create another crisis, so that they don't create another crisis where the bankers get bailed out and the regular people get thrown out of their jobs and their homes. We also know, and this is very important, that a Sanders Justice Department will be brave enough to hold the bankers accountable when they break the law. My second big reason for supporting Bernie Sanders is because he's the only candidate with a health care plan, Medicare for all, that will guarantee health care for every American. Now, you might have heard that some people are saying that we can't afford his plan, but we know, the people in this room know, we can't afford not to do it. Here in Georgia, next door in South Carolina, and across the South and the nation, Republican governors have refused to expand Medicaid, leaving millions of working-class Americans without health care. Only Bernie Sanders' health care plan solves that problem everywhere in America. When we have Medicare for all, the days will be over when right-wing politicians in Georgia and elsewhere can make a political statement by blocking health care for millions of our fellow citizens. My third reason for backing Bernie Sanders is our fight for 15. Right now, even as we speak, I'm fighting to raise Georgia's minimum wage to $15 an hour. And we're doing that because everyone's job should pay them a wage that lets them support themselves and their families with dignity. Bernie Sanders is the only candidate for president who will join us in that fight and push Congress to raise our national wage to $15 an hour so every working American is paid a real living wage. That's why I've joined you. That's why I've joined you here tonight, and why I'm going to work every day through November 8th as hard as I can to make Bernie Sanders the 45th President of the United States. Working together, we will make sure that this is more than just a moment. It will be the start of a movement that will transform America and make sure that the nation we love lives up to its promise for everyone. And now, it is my pleasure and honor to introduce you to our next president, Senator Bernie Sanders.
Thank you, Morehouse. What a turnout, and I appreciate each and every one of you for being here. I want to thank Jasmine Guy and Killer Mike, and Senator Nina Turner, and State Rep Justin Bamberger, and State Senator Vincent Fort for their support. We began this campaign 9 months ago, and when we began it, people said, well, Bernie, we like the way you comb your hair. You're kind of a sharp GQ kind of fellow, but you ain't going to go anyplace because your ideas are too radical. Turns out that wasn't quite the case. We started this campaign in Iowa 50 points behind. We ended in a virtual tie. We started in New Hampshire 30 points down. We won. We started in Georgia way, way, way down, and you know what? I think we're going to win right here. And the reason for that is that people understand that our country today faces some enormously serious problems, and they understand that establishment politics and establishment economics just isn't going to do it. The American people understand some very profound truths, truths that we don't talk about a whole lot. You don't hear it on the media, but that's what this campaign is about, is telling the truth, not hiding major issues underneath the rug. So let's talk about some basic truths in America. Number one, we have a campaign finance system that is corrupt, and that is undermining American democracy. Billionaires, Wall Street, corporate America are putting huge amounts, unlimited amounts of money into these camps. Did I say huge? Huge? All right. That's what I said, and that's what I said. All right. But here is what is not funny. What is not funny is that millions of Americans from World War II on have fought and sometimes died to defend American democracy. And what we are seeing today is a handful of wealthy families trying to undermine our democracy, doing away with the concept of one person, one vote. They're trying to buy elections. And when you have billionaires buying elections, that's not democracy, that is oligarchy, and together we're going to stop that. Yep, the billionaires have more money than you do. But in a democracy, your vote, your political efforts should be as important as theirs. And that is why, together, we are going to overturn this disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decision. Okay. That's issue number one, a corrupt campaign finance system undermining American democracy. Issue number two, we have today a rigged economy. What it means is that the average person, whether in Georgia or in my state of Vermont, person is working longer and longer hours. We got millions of people in this country, despite exploding technology, increased worker productivity, they're working not one job, 2 jobs, 3 jobs, trying to cobble together some income and some health care. Mom is working, dad's working, the kids are working, marriages are suffering, kids don't get the attention they deserve and need, and yet after all of that, 58% of all new income created goes to the top 1%. Now, I want to give you an example of what a rigged economy is about. There are many examples. Let me just give you one. You hear Republican candidates going through Georgia, going through America, and they're very concerned about welfare abuse. You ever hear that? Oh, poor people are ripping off the welfare system. Terrible, terrible, terrible. In America today, the wealthiest family is the Walton family who owns Walmart. Well, it turns out that the major welfare recipient in America is the Walton family. And you know why that's the case? Because the wages they pay their workers are so low that many of their workers are forced to go on Medicaid, food stamps, subsidized housing. And you know who pays for those food stamps, Medicaid, and subsidized housing? You do. So on behalf of the Walton family, that's worth about $60 billion, I want to thank you. They're very grateful that you are subsidizing their employees. But I think the important point here is that the Walton family, the wealthiest family in this country, has got to get off of welfare, pay their workers a living wage. Issue number 3, a broken criminal justice system. Tied to institutional racism. Now, I want to say a word on that in several contexts. Some of you may have read that 3 weeks ago, one of the largest financial institutions in this country, Goldman Sachs, reached a settlement with the U.S. government for $5 billion. $5 billion. Now, why did they do that? They did that because they were guilty of selling packages of worthless subprime mortgage loans. So they were defrauding the American people, and their efforts, along with other Wall Street institutions, helped drove this economy into the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression. Now, here is my point A about criminal justice. A large Wall Street firm reaches an agreement with the United States government and pays a fine of $5 billion. Today in Georgia or in Vermont, some kid gets picked up for possessing marijuana. The kid who gets picked up for possessing marijuana will have a police record for his entire life, making it harder for him to get a job. the executives on Wall Street whose greed and illegal behavior help destroy the American economy, they don't get a police record. They get an increase in their already huge compensation package. Together, what we have got to do is bring justice back to the criminal justice system. When we talk about criminal justice, let us understand one very, very disturbing fact. And this is an issue together we will address and we will resolve. In America today, we have more people in jail than any other country on earth. China has 4 times our population. We have more people in jail than China does. So we have got to ask ourselves, why is that? Why does it happen? How do we turn that around? For a start, let me mention something that you may not be aware of. In this country today, youth unemployment for high school kids, people who graduated high school between 17 and 20, if the kids are white, it is 33% Latino, 36% African American, 51% unemployed or underemployed. Now, if anybody here does not see the connection between kids without jobs, without adequate education, and the fact that we have more people in jail than any other country, you are missing an important point. And that is why I believe that we should be investing in education and jobs for our young people. Not more jails or incarceration. So here's a promise that I make to you. After my first term as president, we will not have more people in jail than any other country. And here's, when we talk about criminal justice, let us all be very clear that together we are going to end the horrors that we have seen time and time again on TV of unarmed African Americans being shot and killed by police officers. And I want to congratulate Representative Bamberg, who is representing the Walter Scott family in that case in South Carolina, by the way. But here's the story. I was a mayor of Burlington, Vermont for 8 years. Worked closely with our police department. Most police officers are honest, hardworking, trying to do a very difficult job. It's a hard job. But when a police officer, like any other public official, breaks the law, that officer must be held accountable. Police departments are run by local governments, but the federal government can play a very important role in such areas as developing protocols regarding the use of force. Lethal force is the last resort, not the first resort. There are ways to deal with somebody who is mentally ill and who has a knife. We can deal with that without killing him. You have seen the same pictures on TV as I have about local police departments that look like they are occupying armies. We have got to demilitarize local police departments. In America, police departments should reflect the diversity of the communities they serve. As a nation, we have got to take a very, very hard look at the so-called war on drugs. Over the last 30 years, millions of Americans have been arrested for possessing marijuana. Today, as part of the Federal Controlled Substance Act, marijuana is listed as a Schedule I drug right alongside heroin. Frankly, I think that's pretty crazy. And I've introduced legislation to take marijuana out of the Federal Controlled Substance Act. Now, states have the right to legalize marijuana or not. That's a state issue. But at the federal level, it should not, possessing marijuana should not be a crime. And when we look at criminal justice, we know, everybody here knows, people who have had problems with drug addiction, with substance abuse, with alcohol overuse. We have got to recognize that substance abuse is a health issue, not a criminal issue. Too often, when charges are made against an individual, judges have no option because there is mandatory minimum sentencing. We have got to do away with that. The United States of America is one of the very few industrialized countries that maintains the death penalty. Too many innocent people have been executed. And in a world of violence, of incredible violence, I do not believe that the government, our government, should be part of that violence, of that killing. I oppose the death penalty. And when people do their time, go to jail, what we have got to do, and we're not doing it now, is make sure they have the education and job skills so that when they get out, they become productive members of society. not go back to the same environment which got him in jail in the first place. Now, my friends, the reason I believe that our campaign is doing as well as it is because the American people know that there are fundamental problems that require big thinking, that people are tired of little thinking. They want this country to move forward in a bold way. It is not acceptable to me that in today's economy, for example, the top 0.1% now owns almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. It is not acceptable that the wealthiest 20 people own more wealth than the bottom 150 million Americans. So you guys ready for a radical idea? All right, together we're going to create an economy that works for all of us, not just the 1%. Together, we understand that a $7.25 federal minimum wage is a starvation wage. We're going to raise the minimum wage to a living wage, $15 an hour. And I hope that every man in this room will stand with the women in the fight for pay equity for women workers. It is not acceptable that women on average make 79 cents on the dollar compared to men. African American women make much less than that. We have got to end sexism. We've got to end racism. Equal pay for equal work. And when real unemployment is close to 10%, youth unemployment off the charts, we have got to create millions of decent paying jobs. As a nation, we should be hiring teachers, not firing teachers. We should be creating an outstanding child care system so when mom and dad go to work, they know their kids have quality, affordable child care. Yesterday, I had a meeting which was one of the most difficult and distressing meetings that I've ever had in my life, and I've had many difficult meetings. This meeting was with 7 or 8 people from Flint, Michigan. What they told me in terms of what is going on in Flint today made me shudder. It was incomprehensible to me that what they described was going on in the United States of America in the year 2016. Beyond belief. A woman describes to me, and I want you to put yourself in this mother's place. She has a daughter, I believe around 9 years of age. Kid was a bright child, doing well in school. Over a period of several years, she has seen that child, that bright child's intellectual development deteriorate, and deteriorate. That's more than that ain't right. That is so disgraceful, so horrible. That we are poisoning our children in America in 2016 is beyond comprehension. Now, people tell me, they say, Bernie, you want to invest in the infrastructure. You want to invest in roads and bridges and water systems. It is an expensive proposition. And I say, if we can rebuild infrastructure in Iraq and Afghanistan, we damn well can rebuild Flint, Michigan, and other communities that are now disintegrating. It's a funny thing. I'm in the Senate, so I hear this every day, and people say, got to be careful about how much money. We really can't afford to put that much into Flint. We can't put that much into education, can't put that much into health care. But I want all of you to remember that when Congress decided to spend trillions of dollars going to war in Iraq, nobody worried about the money. My Republican colleagues, tell us it's just not enough money to help Flint. There's not enough money to do child care. There's not enough money to address the fact that we have the highest rate of childhood poverty of any major country. Not enough money to help seniors who can't afford their prescription drugs. Just can't do it. But at the same time, they want to give hundreds of billions of dollars in tax breaks to the top 0.2%. Now, my Republican colleagues, they're running all over this country, and they talk about family values. But I want everybody here to understand what they mean when they talk about family values. What they are saying is that no woman in this room, in this state, in this country should have the right to control her own body. I disagree. What they are saying is that our gay brothers and sisters should not have the right to get married. I disagree. But when I talk about family values, let me tell you what I talk about. And that is ending the international embarrassment of the United States being the only major country on earth not to provide paid family and medical leave. That's a family value. Everybody knows, or should know, that the United States does not do well unless we have the best educated population in the world. That's just a fact. And right now in America, we have a higher education system that is so expensive that hundreds of thousands of bright young people who have the ability and the desire, they can't get into college because their families lack the money. That is not what America is supposed to be about. And then on top of that, you got another disaster, and that is millions of people who did go to college, left school deeply, deeply in debt. Anybody here with student debt? What kind of debt are we talking about? 40,000, 80, 100, 105. Okay. I mean, got 40, 80, $105,000. Now, I want you to think about it. I want you to think about it for a moment. Just take a deep breath and think about the insanity of what we're talking about. Everybody knows that we need to educate our people as best we can. Why are we punishing millions of people for the crime of getting a higher education? A few months ago, I talked to a young woman, graduated dental school, $400,000 in debt. Talked to another woman in Vermont, graduated medical school, $300,000 in debt. Talked to a guy in Nevada, listen to this. He took out his student loan 25 years ago. He is more in debt today than he was when he took it out. And he's worried. He's 55. He's worried that when he gets Social Security, they're going to garnish his Social Security to pay his student debt. How crazy is that? So we need to radically change our priorities regarding education. We need to make public colleges and universities tuition free. We need to provide substantial help to HBCUs that have done a great job. A great job in educating young African Americans and others. And we need to make certain that people who are paying high interest rates on their student debt can refinance those loans at the lowest interest rates they can find. The revolution I want is that every kid in this country, kids who come from families like mine, where my mom and dad never went to college, I want every kid in this country to know that if he or she does their schoolwork, pays attention in school, they will be able to get a college education regardless of the income of their families. When we talk about our responsibilities as adults, as parents, it is imperative that we leave this planet in a way that is healthy and habitable to our children and our grandchildren. Now, I understand that that great American scientist, Donald Trump, see, I know he's a great American scientist because he's the greatest of everything, must be a great, that he has discovered, after years of intensive study, that climate change is a hoax developed by the Chinese. Now, I found that very shocking because I thought that Trump would have discovered, in his view, that climate change was a hoax developed by the Mexicans or the Muslims. Not the Chinese, you know. But here is the truth. The truth is that climate change is real. It is already doing devastating problems. And we have a moral responsibility to transform our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy. Now, I am criticized every day for one thing or another. That's all right. That's exactly all right. And here's one of the things that I'm criticized for, is that I happen to believe that in this great country, we should be able to do what every other major country on earth does, and that is guarantee health care to all of our people. I am a member of the committee that wrote the Affordable Care Act. The Affordable Care Act has done a lot of very important things. We have done away with this abomination of pre-existing conditions. We have extended health insurance to 17 million more Americans. And by the way, I would hope that every governor in this country would have the decency to allow those people eligible to take advantage of Medicaid under the Affordable Care Act. But while we've made progress in health care under President Obama's leadership, there is still much to be done. 29 million Americans, no health insurance. Many of you are underinsured, large deductibles and co-payments. We pay the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. So I believe, and I plead guilty. Anyone wants to criticize me? Go for it. I plead guilty to believing that health care is a right of all people, not a privilege. And that is why I believe in a Medicare for all single-payer program. Now, in our country today, we have absurd priorities. We have more income and wealth inequality. We have the highest rate of childhood poverty. We give huge tax breaks to billionaires, but moms can't find affordable, quality child care. We spend more money per person on health care, and 29 million Americans have no health insurance at all. To my mind, and what the political revolution that I've been talking about means, is that as a nation, we come together, black and white and Latino and Asian American, young and old, that we not allow the Trumps of the world to divide us up. And when we do that, my friends, there is nothing we cannot accomplish. It is not a radical idea to say that every person who wants to and has the ability to get a higher education should be able to do so and not leave school in debt. That's not a radical idea. It is not a radical idea to say that all Americans should have health care as a right. It is not a radical idea to say that if you work 40 hours a week, you should not live in poverty. It is not a radical idea to say that we do not have to tolerate a corrupt campaign finance system. What the political revolution is about is millions of people, many of whom have given up on the political process. Many of them say, why would I possibly want to vote? What the revolution is about is saying to those people, stand up, fight back, take back your own government. The establishment politically, economically, is getting very nervous because they're hearing some rumblings at the grassroots. They're hearing people saying, sorry, the status quo is not acceptable. We want real change. So tonight, I ask for your support here in Georgia. I ask for you to participate in the political revolution. I ask for you to help us create a government that belongs to all of us, not just wealthy campaign contributors. Thank you all very much.
Well, thank you for joining us. I've got more than 700 with me right now. Sorry about it being so bright in the room. I forgot to turn everything down. At least you could see my face. That was absolutely incredible. The testimony from Killer Mike, the testimony from Nina Turner. Sounds like something happened. I don't know what there is. I haven't seen anything. If you guys have seen anything on social media, sounds like there was something going on there with the Secret Service. Kind of indicative of the whole problem, indicative of what we're talking about here. Well, anyway, that was badass. The testimony from everybody before Bernie came on was incredible. Bernie's speech was just impassioned and beautiful. He said so many things. Actually, I thought he changed it up and had some much more powerful things to say. And I'm going to have to think about it and think about what's going on. And talk about that tomorrow in the newsroom. We'll also talk about some of the things that were said, some things going on, all sorts of stuff going on in the news. Lots of endorsements. I saw a lot of things coming through on Twitter showing a lot of endorsements, new endorsements coming through for Bernie Sanders. So, yeah. Kiss my ass establishment. Nice, nice, nice. Yeah, Killer Mike gave me... We're going to end with Reagan. We're going to end with Reagan because what Killer Mike had to say, listen, I couldn't adjust the compressor. I couldn't adjust the audio enough. He kept getting louder and louder, and it was blowing their mics out on their end. And that crowd was pissed, and he was pissed. Nina Turner was also pissed. I don't have any verification of anything, but it sure sounded to me like he was talking about something that had happened with him just earlier, getting there with the whole Secret Service bullshit. I can't wait to find out what's going on. We'll talk about that tomorrow, see what the reality is. There's been a lot of news coming out. No, I didn't catch the Killer Mike thing. Everything was really, really, really good. It was really good. This was one of the best rallies I've seen. Sounds to me like Bernie's got some solid support there in Atlanta, Georgia. Sounds to me like he's got some solid support. I don't know. They're going to keep... Mainstream media is going to keep saying that he doesn't. They're going to keep saying that Hillary's got the lead. I just don't see that. I just don't see it. I think minorities, African Americans are educated. I think they see the truth. And I think we've seen the support everywhere we go. 8,000 people show up in Birmingham. You know, we know the truth, folks. We know the truth. So thank you for joining us. That was a great stream there from CBS 46. Thank you guys for providing that. Really appreciate it when local stations do this. I don't know what streams we're going to have tomorrow. I have no idea. That's always the way it works. I have no idea what we're going to have tomorrow. I know we'll have the newsroom. We may have something early. I'll find out, and if we have something early, we'll broadcast it. I'll just show up. The best way to know is to subscribe to our channel. Subscribe to the channel, and we do offer fan funding. If you want to donate to Bernie 2016 TV to help us keep going, help us grow shows, help us keep running, we have a fan funding. It does not tie into the YouTube monetization, so it does not create advertising across our videos, and it does not pay off any corporate interests. So it's different from the YouTube monetization process, and that's why I did it, because I didn't want to give YouTube any money. Join us tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon for the rest of the world. Newsroom. We'll talk about this rally. We'll talk about latest events. There's some interesting stuff going down that we'll talk about tomorrow. Some good news, some weird news. But let's end with Reagan, because we know that we have a lot of stuff to fix. We have a lot of healing to do within our nation. A lot of healing. There's a lot of anger. And all of it's justified. We've been screwed by our government for decades. So there's anger that I have, there's anger that Killer Mike has, there's anger that everybody has. Everybody around the world should be angry at the United States of America. And everybody is justified to be angry at the United States of America. But what they aren't justified in doing is not helping us fix this shit. We have an opportunity to fix this shit with Bernie Sanders. You're helping us right now. Thank you for being with us, world. We're going to fix this shit together. We're going to fix it with Bernie Sanders. We're going to do it because it's not me, it's us. And we're together in this. We'll see you tomorrow, guys. Thank you for feeling the burn. Here's Reagan, Killer Mike.
Our government has a firm policy not to capitulate to terrorist demands, that no concessions policy remains in force. In spite of the wildly speculative and false stories about arms for hostages and alleged ransom payments, we did not, repeat, did not trade weapons or anything else for hostages. Nor will we.
The ballad of the bullet, some freedom or some bullshit. Will we ever do it big or just keep settling for little shit? We brag on having bread, but none of us are bakers. We all talk having greens, but none of us own acres. If none of us own acres and none of us grow wheat, then who will feed our people when our people need to eat? So it seems our people starve from lack of understanding, cause all we seem to give them is some ballin' and some dancing and some talking about our car and imaginary mansions. We should be indicted for bullshit we inciting, telling children deaf and pretending it's exciting. We are advertisements for agony and pain. We exploit the youth, we tell them to join the gang. We tell them dope stories, introduce them to the game. Just like our lover North introduced us to cocaine in the 80s when them bricks came on military plane.
A few months ago, I told the American people I did not trade arms for hostages. My heart and my best intentions still tell me that's true, but the facts and the evidence tell me it is not.
The end of the Reagan era, I'm like Lemma 12er, old enough to understand the shit had changed forever. They declared the war on drugs, like a war on terror, but what it really did was let the police terrorize whoever. But mostly black boys, but they would call us niggas, and lay us on our belly while they fingers on their triggers. They boots was on our head, they dolls was on our crotches, and they would beat us up if we had diamonds on our watches. And they would take our drugs and monies as they pick our pockets. I guess that's the privilege of policing for some profit. But thanks to Reaganomics, prison turned to profits, cause free labor's the cornerstone of U.S. economics. Cause slavery was abolished unless you are in prison. You think I ambush it and then read the 13th Amendment. Involuntary servitude and slavery it prohibits. That's why they giving drug offenders time in double digits. Ronald Reagan was an actor, not at all a factor, just an employee of the country's real masters. Just like the Bushes, Clinton and Obama, just another talking head telling lies on teleprompters. If you don't believe the theory, then argue with this logic. Why did Reagan and Obama both go after Gaddafi? We invading sovereign soil, going after oil, taking countries is a hobby paid for by the oil lobby. Same as in Iraq and Afghanistan. And Ahmadinejad say they coming for Iran. They only love the rich and how they load the poor. If I say any more, they might be at my door. Who the fuck is that? Staring in my window, doing that surveillance on Mr. Michael Render. I'm dropping off the grid before they pump the lead. I leave you with 4 words, I'm glad Reagan dead.
Huge